Welcome back into the Ohio MMA podcast. I'm your host, David McKinney. Joining me on today's episode, veteran MMA fighter Joe the Guardian Garcia. What's up, Joe?
Same old stuff, man. Can we curse on this podcast? Should I
You
try
can
to?
you can do whatever you want, man.
Okay, all right. Man, you gotta be
Thanks
careful.
for asking at least up front.
Yeah, I've had like 5 people tell me this week, like, bro, when you call me, I never put you on speaker.
Yeah. This I always make sure I mark it explicit just in case. So yeah, we're good. But yeah, man, it's I feel like you're one of the. There's not a lot of people that have been around the game for longer than I have, covering and being active in the Ohio MMA community. But I think you're definitely one of them, man. So it's awesome to have you finally on the podcast. Not calling you old because I'm actually older than you, but it's awesome to have one of the OGs on the podcast.
Man. Been around a while, bro. It's like it's crazy how much the game has changed too. Like I feel old when I tell these young cats in the gym about just random shit. Like I remember when fighters didn't have to do blood work.
Like, yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember when fighters could bring their own gloves. It's like little shit like that. Like, wow, I'm getting up there.
Yeah. You actually, I was looking back at your record. You made your MMA debut in 2010, and now we're here 15 years later. What was the thought process being a young guy, I think you were probably only like 19 years old, going into your MMA debut at 19 years old in 2010. Take yourself back. What was that like? Making your first walk to the cage?
So I actually made my debut 2 years before that in Michigan.
Oh yeah, so you fought in some of the Wild West days of Michigan.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's why I said like when you could fight multiple times in one night, when you could bring your own gloves, when one guy could be 160, the other guy be 180. They'd say fuck it as long as they both agree. But like, I was just looking for something to do, man. Like I played sports in high school, I boxed a little bit, and I just like. I'm a guy that's always looking for the next thing. Like I always got to have a rock to push up a hill. I became really good friends with some MMA guys in North Baltimore. Josh Harrod, like Nick Sorg. You remember Nick Sorg?
Yeah.
Like he was a huge idol of mine. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna try my hand. And it's great because like back then it wasn't cool to do it. Like that's what's weird now. Like now it's so cool and hip to be an MMA fighter, but back then people look at you like you were fucking nuts. Like it was like Fight Club.
Yeah. Even when I told people that I like covered MMA, they were like, what? Like you mean like cage fighting, like the ultimate, the stuff that John McCain called cockfighting? Because even still, bro. Then, like when I was in college, it was, and then I went into a gym Buckeye MMA, and it was the way that they trained was you fight. Yep. that's your training. Yep. There's no like technique. I mean, there's a little bit of technique, but it was like you go in and you spar and you leave every day with a headache and you're like, I guess I got better. It feels it hurts. That must mean
I was just telling my guys that the other day. Like that's part of the reason I opened my own gym, because back in the day, like every gym I ever went to, like you said, that's how you got better. Is you would just go in there and spar, and you either got better or you didn't. So the way I do things at my gym, and this is kind of the norm now for gyms, but back then it wasn't, is we do, like 30, 45 minutes of technique and then we spar. But yeah, back then, like you said, like you just went in there and beat the shit out of each other and the strong would survive.
Yeah. Yeah. So you made your pro debut, I think it was 2017, but you actually took some time away from fighting in the cage, and you came back last year in 2024 and got a big win, a first round submission, your first pro win. What was that like after 5 years out of the cage, coming back and getting a big win? I feel like that's got to be like, I know it was a huge thing for you to turn pro and then to finally get your first pro win. What was that like?
Mentally, I never left, bro. It doesn't even feel like I had that much of a layoff, because even though I did have a layoff, like it was like 2 fights a year I was taking, and then either I was getting injured and having to pull out, or other guys were getting injured and having to pull out. So like I never took a break from being in fight camp. I've been in probably 10 fight camps in the last 5 years, but it's like every single time either I would get hurt or the other guy would get hurt, or we both fucking get hurt. But it was amazing, man. I didn't have the jitters that I thought I was going to. I don't have as much pressure on myself now. Like when you're young, when you're in your early 20s, it's like, I got to win. I got to do this. I got to get to the UFC. I got to get to the big show, whatever. Like now I'm just doing this shit because I enjoy it, man. Like this will be, win or lose, this will be my last year of fighting. Like I'd like to fight a couple more times this year, but 35, I'm done. I've done everything I set out to do. I've won a bunch of belts and medals, and I've met some fucking awesome people. Like every single person that's going to carry my casket is somebody that I've met in the MMA world. So like I'm just super happy with where I'm at and how far I've came. But it was awesome to get it done, bro.
Yeah.
Especially Kentucky was I was kind of unsure about Kentucky, bro, because I'm a Toledo boy and it's a different scene down there.
Yeah. So you said this is your last year of fighting. I guess you're doing like the John Cena retirement tour, but I know you had a fight lined up last month that fell through. You were supposed to fight this month. Do you have anything officially on the docket, or
not yet? Not yet. We're just seeing what's out there. I've been working out, trying to get my weight down, get back to 205. I'm not a heavyweight, bro. I'm 5'8". I'm a fucking fat middleweight.
Some of us are heavyweights at 5'8", man.
Yeah. So trying to get back down to 205, but we're just seeing what's out there, man. But I'll definitely next couple months I'll be back in there. We got the first MMA show in Bowling Green ever this Saturday. I was supposed to headline that show versus Cody Kelly, but I decided to step away so I could focus on my guys. I got 10 guys fighting on that show. So like I'm not going to be able to be taping hands and holding pads and getting these guys mentally ready when I'm trying to focus on a fight too. That's not fair to either one of us. So I was like, I'll just sit out this one and I'll hop on the next one.
Yeah, that was actually, I feel like you know what you're doing. That was my next question. That's right where I was going. So Combate MVP makes a promotional debut this weekend at the Woodland Mall in Bowling Green. And I know you're very excited for this. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast. It not only is it in Bowling Green, it's in the same building, same Woodland Mall as where your gym is. Yep. It's got to be huge for your guys to be able to you guys can probably warm up and train in your gym or warm up in your gym. That's got to be huge. What's that like? I feel like that's a huge reason why everyone is wanting to get on the card. You're like, you never know when this is going to happen again, right? Like you think it's going to happen, but just talk about that, man. Being able to have a show in Bowling Green for the first time, and forever, and also right in your gym.
It's like, man, I didn't think it was ever going to happen, because you got to think I've been in Bowling Green since 2016. I had to close for like a year and a half because of COVID. I was right across the street from the police station. They put a cease and desist on my door. So, like, there was no flying under the radar. I had to fucking close when the COVID lockdown happened. But, like, for all intents and purposes, I've been in Bowling Green for 8 years. And it's been, like, mixed reviews from the community. Bowling Green's a very, I don't know how they feel about us being there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not on the Chamber of Commerce. The city doesn't, I don't know if they like us being there. And the other thing about Bowling Green too is like it's such a transient city. That's why it's so hard. Like JD McNett will be the first person other than me to turn pro out of the gym, because Bowling Green is like a stepping stone for most people. Bowling Green is not anybody's final chapter. So we get these guys for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, and then they go off and they get a job or they move somewhere else. So like all the pieces were just never able to come together for us to have a show there. So to finally be able to do it now, especially like this has been our home turf for all these years, and we've been going out of town and getting booed and fighting the other hometown guys all this time. Now to have a show in our hometown, in our home building, is like, it's fucking incredible.
Yeah, because I see you guys a lot up in Northwest Ohio. There's shows, but it's always south of you down in Findlay, and there was a show in Ottawa, and you guys always show up and you show up ready to go. But yeah, it's always you're tough. You're always the away team every single time out, and you're always facing. It seems like every other fight is Garcia versus Demolition, or Garcia versus Fightopia. And the interesting thing about that part of the state is it seems like while there is like your gyms do fight, like doesn't seem like there is like a little bit of a rivalry, but there's no like bad blood. I think you trained
no.
before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
it's such an interesting
guy, bro. Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about that dynamic of like how your guys go in there and face Gary Young's guys from Demolition, and what that kind of dynamic is like.
So yeah, like I said, I'm a Demolition guy. I owe Gary Young. Gary Young is still my coach to this day. When I go fight, I'll have Gary in my corner if I can. But I have a great relationship with those guys, even their fighters. Like the main event this weekend, JD's fighting Caleb Leith. Caleb just stayed at my house like 3 months ago. Like he's like my little brother. Like I fucking love that kid to death. Because it's just a sport, bro. It's just like like in high school when I played football, my best friend went to the other district and we played on opposite sides of the ball. So a couple weeks out of the year we'd beat the shit out of each other, and then we'd ride the same. But you know what I mean? Like it's just not that serious. And the cool thing about having that relationship with Gary is he's been around a long time too. And we can be real with each other. So in the fight game, every promoter that calls you is like, hey, I got this guy. He's so-and-so weight, he's fresh off the couch, he's bad, it's a guaranteed win for you. I don't have to worry about that with Gary. So when I got a guy that's a really good wrestler, I can say, hey, I got a guy, he's 170, this guy's a really good fucking wrestler. What do you got? And if he's got some kid that's a stud, he'll tell me, hey, I got this guy, he's 205, whatever, he's a stud. So it's honest matchmaking, and that makes for a good time. And that's why it's always good fights. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but it's always evenly matched fights because me and him can be honest with each other when it comes to making these matchups because we have that relationship.
And that's huge. I mean, I feel like if you're as a coach, like you're wanting to get your fighters better and get them experience, especially in the amateur ranks, right? Like you got this guy, like say, hey, maybe he struggled with wrestling. Let's throw him in. But we've been working like crazy on his takedown defense. Let's throw him in there against a wrestler and see what he's like.
Exactly. We've had that exact conversation. Me and Gary have had that exact conversation.
And yes, it does make for some great fights. I can attest to that. I've seen. I try to watch now. It's nice with like Carnage Media. They've always got all the streams and stuff like that. But back in the day, it was hard to find. Like I feel like I was like trading tapes, man. But it is nice to be able to mostly sit at home, and I do travel and go to the shows. But it's nice to be able to watch and see the streams of the shows, and that's huge too. So you said that you had 10 fighters on the card. Let's talk about some of the fighters. I know JD McNett in the main event, fighting for the lightweight title against Caleb Leith. And JD is a guy who he's such an interesting guy too. He's a short, stocky guy. I think he's like 5'6", like 155, and has crazy power. But he came out in his last fight and showed off the wrestling credentials against Will Chow at the Carnage show. Talk about what I know. He said he's looking at maybe going pro pretty soon. Is this maybe a potential final stepping stone for him to see if he's ready to go pro, or do you think that's a little bit further down the line?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. He'll probably go pro after this. It's like MMA is a delicate balance between you don't want to go pro too early because obviously that's with you forever. Once you go pro, there's no turning back. But at the same time, you only want to take so much damage for free. There's only so many times you're going to go out there and keep doing the shit and not getting a paycheck and paying for your blood work and your license, all this, and just not getting any kind of return on it. So if I like what I see, we'll have that conversation about him potentially turning pro after this. And Bucky, we call him Bucky. Caleb Leith, we call him Bucky. And Bucky's no slouch. Bucky is a guy that he only has to hit you one time and you will hit the ground sleeping. That is a guy that you have to fight a perfect fight for all 9 minutes because you could beat that dude's ass for 8.5 minutes, and with 30 seconds left, he'll stone you. He will.
Yeah. I saw a couple of his fights. Yeah, it looked like he was like, either losing or not in the greatest spot, and then comes back and it's like, oh wait, he actually won via TKO. And like,
bro, there's that kind of power is something I think you got to be born with. Like he's just got that fucking bone crunching power. So it's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, and one I think a lot of people have circled on their fight card is the rematch against your fighter Sean, who I think he recently came to your gym, or what, he was an independent guy before and then came to your gym. I don't know the story there, but he's fighting a rematch against Caden Hastings, and that fight happened at the end of December last year, and I was actually at that, and that was a wild fight.
They were duking, bro.
Yeah,
they were throwing hands.
Yeah, talk a little bit about Sean and kind of what because he's the guy that I feel like you can see, like watching multiple fights of a fighter, and you can see the evolution. And he seems like he's like started to like the light switch has like flicked for him. Talk about him and getting the rematch and getting this fight back for him.
Let me tell you about Sean, bro. Sean, and if you've been around Sean in person, he's the most unassuming kid. He's tall, but he's real skinny. He's an anime nerd. This kid goes to school, he works, and he walks to the gym from campus. And if you're not familiar with Bowling Green, my gym is like probably 3 or 4 miles from campus. It's like a 45-minute walk both directions. He walks in the rain. He walks in the snow. And he won't ask anybody for a ride because we never know when he works. So he'll show up to class and be like, dude, you should have said something. I'd have came and picked you up. But this dude there's a video on our Instagram of him literally walking in. It was like a really, really bad thunderstorm. And he walks in the gym fucking soaked head to toe because he doesn't miss practice. He does everything I ask him to. I saw his grandfather 2 fights ago, and his grandfather walked up to me and was like, hey, how's he going to do? How's he doing in the gym? You think he's going to win? I said, listen, win or lose, he has done everything he's supposed to. That should make you proud of him. So and he did go out and win that night, but like I told him, win or lose, you should be proud of him because he's doing all the things that professionals should do. He shows up every single day. He listens. He doesn't complain. He doesn't get in his head. Like, he grinds his ass off. So that the progression is from all the shit that people don't see.
Yeah,
I don't have to tell him to watch his diet. I don't have to tell him to get up and run. I don't, like, he's consistent.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because you can see that, right? Like, you can see him from one fight to the next, where it's not that it was like that he was doing anything wrong before, but it's just like that switch flipped, and he's ready to go. And it's like, man, now he's like, he's like, I think the last fight he had a rematch and won. This fight he gets a rematch and wins. So he's just going down the line, man. That's pretty cool. So I think a lot of people, like I said, have that one circled. Like, man, this is a potential fight of the night. A couple other guys that I had circled. I know Jordan DeSola. I saw his debut back in December. He looks like a freight train, man. Like, he ran through a guy who had 4 fights and one with a choke in 15 seconds. He looks like another, tough guy. Like, clearly has a wrestling background, I'm assuming, but based on the way that he looks. But yeah, he's a guy too, coming out. Talk a little bit about Jordan.
Jordo's, we call him Jordo. Jordo's background is actually in street fighting, bro. Like, he has no traditional combat sports background, but that dude has been in a shit ton of street fights. And I don't condone that at all. But the thing with guys like that, bro, that have thrown down in the streets as many times as he has, they don't get stage fright because there's a referee. You got big gloves on. Like, there's nobody you're gonna put him in a cage with that's gonna strike fear into him, because it's a sport. It's nothing. But he's super strong, super athletic. He's another one that's just like Sean. He's actually, we don't even have class today. He's at the gym right now with a couple other guys getting work in. But that's a dude that trains like 2-3 times a day. And he's so fucking strong. Like, you blindfold yourself, you think you're grappling with a heavyweight. Like, that dude's just like, he's like a fucking piece of iron.
Yeah, some people just have that natural strength, and he doesn't even have his old man strength yet. So he's going to get even worse. The other guy that I saw make his debut in December was Ryan Cornell, and he's another guy, like, it had a dominant win, a TKO, got the guy in a crucifix and won with some punches. He's returning to facing Royce Griffith. Tell me about Ryan. I've seen you doing some videos with him too on social media. So
yeah. That's like my go-to guy. That's my go-to guy for videos, because he's always like the last person to leave the gym. And I just noticed that like a week ago, like, man, you're like always in my videos. But that's because obviously we do class, we break class apart, and then I'll say, hey, anybody want to stick around and do some content with me? And he's always the last guy lingering around, so he just always ends up in the videos. But that's another dude that's at the gym right now working. But that kid's a grinder, man. He's tough as shit. Like, that kid is. Sometimes I gotta tell him to dial back his toughness, like, because I say toughness is the only resource that it doesn't get better. The more that you use it, it actually goes away. So I always have to tell him not to, like, waste his toughness in the gym, because he will. I'll break people apart, and I've got a couple of guys that they're big. I got a couple D1 football players in the gym, I'll say, and nobody's lining up to spar those guys. And here's fucking 5'5", 160-pound Ryan always going straight to the biggest guy in the gym.
Yeah. That would not have been me. That I would be the guy going the other way. But some people, again, are just built like that. So yeah, you said you had 10 fighters on the card. Give me another couple of names of fighters to look out for.
So when is this going to come out? Is this coming out today?
It'll be on Friday.
Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm debating on if I want to kind of let this leak or not. I got a guy, Donovan Stevens. He's the co-main event. He's making his debut. Be on the lookout for this guy. He's a fucking freak. Division I middle linebacker. Gas tank goes on forever. He's going to be a fucking monster.
Yeah, I saw the picture of him, and I was like, oh, man. Some guys you can tell from a picture, and you're like, oh, that's going to be a fun fight. So
he's a fucking animal.
Yeah. No, that's because you never know. Like, that's what and the thing I always say too is, especially with debuts, you look at the gym, right? Like, what gym is he coming from? And then you usually know what to expect. Like Demolition, they're going to be super tough guys, and they're not going to get put away. And it's always interesting seeing, where the guy comes from and kind of how quickly they integrate themselves into that kind of identity of the gym. So yeah, that's always one of the fun things to see, like the gyms of especially the debuts and the guys that have 1 or 2 fights. Yeah, man, that's awesome. The show looks like it's going to be a great show. Looks like there's 13 fights on the card, a title fight. I mean, what more could you want? The other thing too, so you mentioned Bowling Green, Toledo. I feel like back in the day, man, there was shows all the time. There was like Purgatory, and then before that was Ground and Pound.
Ground and Pound, Fred Vallejo.
Yeah, Fred. Yeah. I went up there many a time, and then Purgatory. And then New League Fights was doing shows. Matt Montalvo was doing shows for a while. And then like for years, it's been nothing. And now you guys have 2 shows in like 2 weeks with AFP coming up in the middle of May. That's awesome, man. Toledo, I always think of as like, I mean, obviously there's MMA, but is well known for a boxing town. Yeah. What's it like to have not 1 but 2 shows back in the area?
It's really awesome, man. It's almost nostalgic. I mean, nothing will ever be Ohio Cage Combat. Ohio Cage Combat, remember at Maumee Rec Center, like you said, Purgatory, Ground and Pound, fucking tough man contests, like you said, it used to be a really big MMA scene. I was just telling a guy the other day that like the Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan MMA scene used to kind of be one. We had Ohio Cage Combat here. We had Michigan Extreme Combat Sports up there, and it kind of withered away. And a lot of it too was, guys weren't making any money. There's really not, even today, there's not much money in it for promoters. Especially when they brought in, because back in the day, and I'm totally for blood work. That's amazing. We probably should have always been doing that. but back in the day, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to have blood work. There wasn't all this insurance and shit involved. You just put a cage up and have a show. So when the I guess you could say bureaucracy came into it, which again, I'm all for it, but that kind of took some meat off the bone for promoters and made it no longer lucrative for them to do it because it wasn't lucrative to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to a show in Southern Michigan and it was maybe a little bit north of there, but WXC back in the day, and they had like 20 some fights on the card, and it was not sanctioned by the state at the time. But it had like the fighters in the card, like Bobby Nash was on the card, eventually made the UFC. There was someone else that was on the card too that I think made it really, maybe Daquan Townsend.
I was gonna say,
Townsend. Yeah, like you're like, man, the talent is here, and it's just like but you had guys that said like they're, of course, like the records were whatever, but guys would be like, I'm 34 and 17 or whatever, like. That's crazy. Like got that many fights. Like
there was a lot of studs, bro. I always wonder like what happened to someone like Shamir Garcia, Lee Trombley. Remember Lee Trombley, the Juggernaut? Like
I think I know that name.
There was some bad dudes, bro. Even here in Toledo, Kevin Hijioka, like he fucking retired undefeated.
Yeah. So I want to the last thing I want to talk about. So you we talked a little bit about the videos, but you are one of the guys I feel like you always have like fresh content out, and some of this stuff is true, just like instructional. You also have fun with it, man. Tell me about like your social media presence and doing that and doing the fun stuff and trying to go viral and all that because it's people like some people do it and some people do it really well and it's something I feel like you do really well. It's entertaining.
It's crazy because I have such a love-hate relationship because like I hate that today, especially in MMA, like everybody just wants to be a fucking influencer, because like I said, when I first started, like Facebook didn't even exist, Instagram didn't exist, like there was MySpace, but like it wasn't cool to do MMA, and now people kind of take being an influencer more seriously than actually being skilled. But it's just kind of a natural gift I've had. Like the 419 Bounty, the bounty hunting Instagram has been going crazy. We're doing 1 million views a month. I just did a video on Garcia MMA. It's our most viral video ever. It just hit 100,000 views today. It's kind of vulgar. But I'm just myself, man. Like I'm a very kind of out there guy in person. So I just I do that same thing online. And like you said, I like to do a lot of instructional. But yeah, I'll just if I have a thought, like I'll say the video that went viral today, I just said, look, a lot of you guys treat fighting and sparring like you're arguing with your wife. Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I said, a lot of you guys treat fighting and sparring like you're arguing with your wife, where you say what you got to say and then you freeze and let her say. I said, treat fighting and sparring like you're arguing with your side chick. Just like I go and then she goes, no, and I keep it. I'm trying to talk over. Did 100,000 views. So Instagram apparently likes toxic shit.
Yeah, that did not surprise me at all that went viral. But I was laughing at the pad holding one too. I'm like, yeah, I've seen that in because sometimes you go to a show and you're like in the back, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that just based on the way that the guy's coach is holding pads, you're like, yep, this guy's ready, this guy's not. But yeah, man, I almost we can't get out of here without talking about your day job, man. That you got such a unique day job. Security bounty hunter extraordinaire.
Yeah.
You're out there hunting guys, doing the real stuff, like not the dog the bounty hunter fake stuff, like the real stuff. What's that like on a day to day? I mean, crazy is obviously the. I'm sure it's wild, but what's that like? Living that as like your day to day life and being in that full time.
I always tell people that we just launched 419 Bounty this year. 419 Bounty has only been a thing for like 8 months. And the explosion on Instagram, like sometimes I open it, I'm like, holy shit, like I can't believe this is happening. In a perfect world, I would only get people out of jail. So what a bail bondsman does is we get people out of jail. When you flip that switch and become a bounty hunter, is when you get that person out of jail, they skip court, and then you got to go pick them up and arrest them. It's just become my norm, bro. Like I've been around. MMA kind of transitioned me to the security world. And then I was doing security with a guy who was a bounty hunter. He was like the best bounty hunter in the city. He was also really, really good at the paperwork side, at getting people out. So he became my mentor. And then when the time was right, I kind of went off on my own. So this has just kind of always been my norm. Like we did an interview with Netflix a couple months ago. We got something in the works. And they asked me, like, what's the adrenaline like when you're about to kick in someone's door and this and that? Like, it's kind of my norm. Like I get more nervous watching my guys going into an MMA fight than getting ready to kick someone's door in. Like this is just, it's my day-to-day routine, getting people out and then sometimes going out and putting them back. Just waiting for that phone to ring, and security is the same way, especially in Toledo. Security is like, especially armed security. It's very adrenaline packed. You kind of almost get desensitized to it. You just got to be ready for anything.
Yeah, no, it's wild, man. I feel like you've definitely, if nothing else, you have to look for it. Like people are they see you and they know you mean business, which I feel like is that's the first thing, is like you got to look the part. Like
you got to look the part,
yeah.
And you have to have a certain amount of tact. So it's a fine line between and there's been, like, obviously Bounty Tank. He's a friend of mine. He got shot last year. He's on the mend right now. There's another bounty hunter down south in Georgia that just got killed. You walk a fine line between letting people know that you mean business and respecting people. And if you tiptoe too far on one side of that line, it has devastating consequences. So yeah, like you said, part of it is looking the part and letting people know you mean business. And also you got to really know how to talk to people. You got to really know where you're at and who to check in with. You know what I mean? You got to be able to identify pretty quickly who big dog is. If you're dealing with a group of people, like, somebody in that group is a big dog, you want to deal with that person.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, like I said, you sound like, I mean, it seems like from everything I can tell, like you definitely know what you're doing. And I mean, I feel like it's very much needed on both sides. And it is huge. I mean, the respecting people is just as much as anything. I feel like people in like that entire law enforcement and security and gets a bad rap sometimes, but it is very refreshing to hear of, like, there's a human side of it too, right? Like, and people want to be respected, and when you go to someone with respect, I feel like you get when you start that way, you immediately it changes the whole dynamic. It brings the level down.
All of my success in the security and the bail bonds industry has come from my relationships. It has not come from me intimidating people or strong arming people. Like I'll give you an example. This was last summer. I got called in the middle of the night to one of my security accounts. A guy was flipping the fuck out. He had a pistol. He was ready to light the place up, and I drove there. As soon as I get there, I realize it's somebody that I know. I get out. I shake his hand. He gets in the passenger side of my car. 3 minutes later, he's laughing. Everybody there's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I know this guy. I have a rapport with this guy, so he knows I'm not going to come here and try to big bro him. I'm going to come here, hey, bro, it's me. What's going on? Let's talk about this. So, and the same thing happens in bounty hunting. I'll be looking for somebody, and if I go to a neighborhood where I'm looking for somebody, 9 times out of 10, I know somebody in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like you said, knowing where you are. And there's so much more to it than just
relationships will get you everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. And it's the same thing in MMA. I can go to any city and tap in with a gym, and there's somebody I know there.
Right. But yeah, man, I know you got a busy night this weekend, this Saturday at Combate MVP BG Fight Night 1. It's at Woodland Mall. Is that right? Is that right?
Yep,
Woodland
yep.
Mall. If you in Bowling Green, Ohio, which is awesome, first MMA show ever. If you can't make it out, then Carnage Media has you covered. They do a really good job on the streams. I know you're going to be busy running around. You got 10 fighters. There's 13 fights. You got 10 fighters. So you got a handful of back-to-backs, I'm sure.
Yeah, bro, I'm gonna be sweating like R. Kelly at Chuck E. Cheese running around at that show.
But yeah, man, I guess best of luck to you, man. Hopefully it's a great night for your team. And yeah, man, hopefully we'll see you back in the cage at least a couple more times before the end of the year.
You will. Promise.
All right. That's Joe Garcia. Thanks so much, man.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
All right. We'll be back next week with another episode.